And that was only if you happened to be online before tonight's meeting. I did not see any notice in the newspaper. I received no phone calls from our chairman or our staff. I'm sure this meeting is legal. Michelle tells us that putting it on the ballot is legal. But in my opinion, this totally violates the spirit of the Open Meetings Act. Our people, the people we represent, deserve much better. It might be legal. It might be the way it's done in Springfield, as Ron tells us. But in my opinion, it's completely unethical. If you have attended these meetings, it is not hard to figure out who supports this proposal and this mode of operation and who is opposed. We will certainly be able to tell tonight by their vote. I want to add that I totally believe in referendums. I want to hear what our voters want us to do. I supported the public safety referendum, the school referendums, the veterans referendum, and I can support this if it was done ethically. But why didn't we have a referendum when we built this building? Why didn't we have a referendum when we spent more than $500,000 on a new road? Why don't we have a referendum on the proposed $400 million investment in wind farms, or the way we use our public safety sales tax? This meeting tonight smacks of backdoor, behind-the-scenes attempts to circumvent the very people we represent, most of you here tonight. The votes tonight will show who believes this is proper and ethical way to do business, and which board members do not. Our people deserve better. Thank you.
Mrs. Ward, we did build this building when you were chairman of the board.
Yes, I was.
And every day this building cost us $1,000 for 20 years
Yes,
out of our general fund.
Yes,
Money we've told the people we're collecting to operate our county. And we're not operating it because we're spending it on a building. If we built this animal shelter, it would be $200 additional each day for 10 years. And that's not the responsibility is to take care of the money. Tell the voters what you're going to spend the money for when you collect it from them. Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Well, I'm probably the one that's going to get tarred and feathered, but that's okay. I've been tarred and feathered before. First of all, let me say, there's no master scheme. People think I'm scheming with the one side or whatever. It's not. Here's how this whole thing came about. I was up at the grocery store about a week ago yesterday, Sunday, and I was getting a gallon of milk, and I ran into a friend of mine who's on the county board here. And when I asked him, I said, what do you think of this thing that's coming up on Wednesday? And he said, well, my only concern is how we're going to pay for it. That's when I threw out the idea of a referendum. I said, what I see with a referendum, one, you go to the voters, because we're to the point where now we can fine-tune it pretty much, and say, okay, here's our ideas, here's what it will cost, would you support it? But more important, because most of us favor something, the question is, do we have the money to pay for it? And because we do have tax caps here in this county, we have to come up with at least 2 or 3 cents probably per year to pay this off. And so I explained that to him, and he said, well, yeah, I think a referendum would be a good idea. So then I talked with another boardman I ran into someplace, and I said the same thing again. Referendum gives the viewpoints of the people, and more importantly, it gives us the money to pay for it. Anyway, then I talked with it, I ran in another one. Next thing you know, then I did call a couple people, but I went 9 for 9 with county board members saying they thought a referendum was a good idea. That's when I decided to call Springfield, see when was the last date to put a referendum on, and they said it was tonight, basically. So then I said, well, if something's going to happen, we're going to have to run with it. So that's when I talked to Bob, and we saw if we could get it done. And then I understand Bob and Ken met with Michelle, and I will say, Michelle said she didn't have the time, to really work on this, but she did say, if you want to talk to bond counsel or something or other, make sure we do it right, that's fine. Ken did that. Well, anyway, so we had the same problem, by the way, with the vets, by the way. And by the way, with the vets, we had to fund them, whether we had the money to fund them or not. And we told them, we have this financial problems. Will you help us try to pass a referendum for 3 cents to support you? And I will say, they really stepped up to the ballpark, and they worked with us. They spent their own money by an ads in the paper, and you see us working with the vets, we were able to pass that. And hopefully, with a group of you claim to represent the tip of the iceberg of people out there who would support it. There's over 50 or 60% of the people have cats and dogs, so they have a vested interest in having a decent place to take their animal to. So I think we could pass one, but we're all going to have to work together. And one, if it passes, we've solved our problem, because the only concern is coming up the money. But the other thing, if it fails, and I'm sure there will be plenty of discussion on this with the public, but we'll find out what the public wants. And maybe they want to tweak it a little bit this way or that way, but I think it would be good. And then we could go forward again. But I was concerned, well, to me, anytime you're spending $300,000, $400,000 on a specific thing, especially a capital item, I think we have a duty to go to the voters and see what they say. Now, I was not on the board when they voted for this building, but I would have favored a front door referendum, although I will tell you, they did put it on what I just found out the other night, it was called a backdoor referendum, and you could do that, and then you could stop it from going through and requiring them to do a front door referendum. In fact, the school board can tell you that. They tried a backdoor referendum one time, the people got petitions, and they stopped the whole thing. Anyway, so that's that. Then I was at the fair, went there every day this week, that week of the fair. I talked to a lot of people, and I found most of the voters in Boone County were not even aware of this discussion and the need that we have for an animal control facility. And I always figure the best way to educate the people of the needs that you have